For a long number of years, aircrafts and ships have been reported to have vanished in the Bermuda Triangle, so today we're taking a dive into some of these stories, in a bid to try and gain some sense of it all. Please subscribe to our channel, and let's jump straight in. First of all, what is the Bermuda Triangle? It's known as the Devil's Triangle, and is an urban legend dedicated to a defined region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean, that triangulates Puerto Rico, southern Florida, and Bermuda. Vessels are believed to have disappeared within this area under truly mysterious circumstances. Theory has it this specific watery triangle is prone to disappearances. Many small boats and individuals have allegedly disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, which can relatively easily be discounted as wave action or meteorological phenomenon, so we're going to look at some of the larger vessels and their tales in chronological order. There is not a lot of detail available on the earlier disappearances, so we'll take a brief look into them, before looking at the latter years in more depth. In the year 1800, USS Pickering, a topsail schooner in the United States Revenue Cutter Service, was on course from Guadeloupe to Delaware, when it became lost with 91 people on board. Some believe this was possibly due to a gale, and as of August 20, 1800, the vessel has not been seen. What's your opinion? In 1814, USS Wasp, a sloop of war that served in the United States Navy, had a last known position in the Caribbean, and was apparently lost with 140 people on board. This disappearance of this ship has also been attributed potentially to a storm. Since autumn 1814, the vessel has not been seen or recovered. In 1824, USS Wildcat, a two-masted schooner of 48 tons, was on course from Cuba to Tompkins Island, when it was lost. She was armed with 3 guns and had a crew of 31, and was not seen or heard of after October 28, 1824. Unsurprisingly, the cause of loss is put down as a storm. So was USS Wildcat just another statistic in the Bermuda Triangle at the hands of a storm, or are these vessels the beginning of something more unexplainable? In 1840, the Rosalie, a huge French ship voyaging from Hamburg to Havana, was found abandoned. This story is even more bemusing than the others, as the ship was discovered inside the Bermuda Triangle, with all sails still set, but with no crew on board. Her cargo on board was noted as valuable, so could this be a pirate attack, and if not, why did the crew abandon an undamaged ship? Some suggest the people on board vanished under paranormal circumstances. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and now we move on to HMS Atlanta 1847. This particular incident is intriguing. A search for further details of this event led to a lot of redacted information, and the details I did find somehow alerted the algorithms, and I was asked to snip out this section of the video, raising more suspicion. So I'll summarize what I had discovered, in an arrangement that won't get me into trouble. HMS Atlanta was a 26-gun frigate launched in 1844 as HMS Juno. She was renamed HMS Mariner in January 1878 and then HMS Atlanta 2 weeks later. Then, in 1880, as a training ship, she disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, and was presumed to have foundered in a storm. There. I said it. Next, USS Cyclops. This was the second of 4 Proteus-class colliers built for the United States Navy several years before World War I. In 1918, this vessel was lost forever. The loss of the ship and her 306 crew and passengers on board vanished without a trace sometime after March 4, 1918, and remains the single largest loss of life in the history of the United States Navy that did not directly involve combat. Given this loss occurred during World War I, it's not unreasonable to evaluate that the ship had been sunk or captured, but the official cause remains unknown. Advancing to 1941, we have USS Proteus, launched in 1912, and was the lead ship of her class of 4 colliers. The vessel was reported lost with all 58 persons on board in heavy seas, having departed St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. The following month, her sister ship USS Nereus was also lost with all 61 persons on board, having also departed St. Thomas on December 10. Research undertaken by Rear Admiral George Van Doors, who was familiar with this type of ship from their service in the USN, claimed the acidic coal cargo would seriously erode the longitudinal support beams of the ships, making these aging and poorly constructed colliers extremely vulnerable to breaking up in heavy seas. So is this a rational explanation as to why 2 500-feet-long ships disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle within a month of each other in November and December 1941? And now the appearance of some aviation losses to accompany our marine tales, starting with Flight 19, that disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle on December 5, 1945, following the loss of contact during a United States Navy overwater navigation training flight from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, Florida. All 14 naval aviators on the flight were lost, as were all 13 crew members of a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat that subsequently launched from Naval Air Station Banana River to search for Flight 19. One theory is that their compasses stopped working, resulting in the flight heading over open sea and away from land. Could this be true, or a case of more weather-related doom, or was something more sinister happening within the Bermuda Triangle? Next on the list is the Star Tiger, which was an Avro Tudor passenger aircraft owned and operated by British South American Airways, that disappeared without a trace over the Atlantic Ocean whilst on a flight between Santa Maria in the Azores and Bermuda in the early hours of January 30, 1948. The loss of this aircraft, along with that of Avro Tudor Star Ariel in 1949, both remain unsolved, with speculation progressing the Bermuda Triangle urban legend. It was reported that Star Tiger and Star Ariel had been sabotaged, and Prime Minister at the time, Clement Attlee, ordered all inquiries into the incidents to be abandoned. A more recent theory suggests the planes may have ran out of fuel. What do you think? The Douglas DC-3. This was a propeller-driven airliner manufactured by Douglas Aircraft Company. On the evening of December 28, 1948, near the end of one of its fleet's scheduled flight from San Juan, Puerto Rico, to Miami, Florida, the Douglas DC-3 carrying 29 passengers and 3 crew members, went missing in the Bermuda Triangle. No probable cause for the loss was determined by the official investigation and currently remains unsolved. At the time of this flight, the weather was reported to have been fine with high visibility, and the plane had 80 minutes worth of fuel remaining. In January 1949, 2 bodies were discovered near Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, but were unable to be identified, and could not be connected to this flight. In addition, a similar plane was found later by divers in the Bermuda Triangle, but could not be confirmed as the Douglas DC-3 in question. So where is the plane? Between 1961 and 1963, more disappearances were recorded in the area, being a B-52 bomber in 1961, the KC-135 Stratotankers, an American military aerial refueling tanker aircraft in 1963, fishing boat Snow Boy also in 1963, and SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a T-2 tanker converted to carry molten sulfur that went missing near the south coast of Florida in 1963, taking the lives of 39 crew members. Fast forwarding a little to 1976, the SS Sylvia L. Asa, a 590-foot cargo ship with a crew of 37, bound from Brazil to Philadelphia with a cargo of iron ore, went missing in the Bermuda Triangle in October 1976. After a short 2-hour hunt for the missing vessel, the search was called off in dark conditions, with a view to reconvening again in the morning. The ship's last known position was given as 340 miles due west of Bermuda, roughly 600 miles out of Philadelphia. You would think that having deployed 2 long-range Coast Guard planes, one from Elizabeth City, and the other from St. Petersburg, as well as a Navy plane from Bermuda, that searched 8,200 square miles from the point where the ship was last heard from, would have been able to spot a 590 feet long vessel if it had crashed. So what really happened to SS Sylvia L. Asa? Tales of losses in the Bermuda Triangle appear to have petered out somewhat since this event, but there are 3 more noteworthy disappearances and bizarre incidents that occurred in the 21st century. The first is a Piper PA-23 that went missing over the Bermuda Triangle on June 20, 2005. The plane with 3 people on board disappeared between Treasure Cay Island, Bahamas, and Fort Pierce, Florida. Theorists suggest that the plane was experiencing problems with a nose and could have crashed, but a second Piper jet is believed to be a similar incident when it took place on April 10, 2007 near Berry Island. On this occasion, the pilot was alone on board without any passengers. But what really happened, and where are the planes? Second on this list is in 2017, when Turkish Airlines flight TK-183 lost signal after experiencing electrical malfunctions over the southeast tip of the Bermuda Triangle. The effects of this were so bad that the plane had to divert and land at Washington Dulles Airport, as opposed to its intended destination of Havana, Cuba. Speculation into the cause of this have possibly been wildly exaggerated by suggesting invisible doorways to other worlds, magnetic force inconsistencies, and even aliens capturing aircrafts for research purposes. The cause has not been officially verified. What's your opinion? And finally, private MU-2B aircraft, allegedly crashed on May 15, 2017, 32 miles east of Eleuthera, Bahamas. Reports suggest the plane was shot down, and debris associated with the aircraft were located near its last known location, which incidentally was an overlapping radar coverage. The Coast Guard conducted a search by air and sea for 72 hours, but the 2 adults and 2 children were never found. Is there more to this story, and what other peculiar events will occur in the Bermuda Triangle in the future? Please subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this video.